Bapak. growing up to build a country in simplicity. Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Universitas Negeri Semarang, has become a home for the development of civilization. A place for various student backgrounds to mingle and a witness to the birth of innovation. No exception for talents who have grown into the spirit of work. Since 1965, the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Universitas Negeri Semarang, has proven itself to maintain the quality of higher education. Side by side, exchanging insights, opening horizons, providing the best experience and high-quality education.
This is our place, exchanging knowledge from discussion rooms on campus. Deep in the root to bring creativity and innovations endlessly. We always take steps, creating high-quality products. Get in touch with the nature, running, welcoming dreams that await.
High aspirations to build a nation are not enough to teach us dreams, but there needs to be a real action in reforming.
I feel comfortable to studying here. Friendliness, novelty, religion, innovation, and creativity are really seen in FMIPA UNNES.
Here, I can not only deepen the knowledge that I have understood, but I can also broaden horizons in the world of science.
We continue to grow to be the best faculty in education, research, and technology. Collecting one by one series of knowledge. Delivering FMIPA graduates to be a highly dedicated future generation.
The Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Universitas Negeri Semarang provided experience, knowledge, and support that brought me to the point where I am now.
Changes and demands of today's science and technology environment increasing dynamically, requiring maturity of knowledge and skills. I was guided by my lectures to develop curiosity and have a systematic way of thinking in dealing with various situations.
Academic adventures presented by the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science UNNES not only able to meet the changing needs of the environment, but also the academic passion that the connoisseurs will always miss.
Our faculty enriches the best experiences for students guided by noble conservation value. We encourage the students to become talented people who grow brilliantly to create innovation and bring change to Indonesia and the world.
This is where the steps to realizing aspirations begin. Work, innovate, shining bright for the advanced Indonesia.
Welcome to our home.
Let's go for Indonesia.
FMIPA UNNES, Signing Faculty for Advanced Indonesia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, Rahayu. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to International Webinar 2022. International Webinar is an annual event held by the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Universitas Negeri Semarang. I am Safira, and it is honored to be your Master of Ceremony today. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start the international webinar, now let us bow our head and pray together. Pray, begin. Thank you. We hope that this program can run smoothly with all of our prayers. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, there's a deadline for our program today. We will read it for you. The first, the International Webinar Committee will record the whole program sessions. By attending this forum, you acknowledge that your image and comments may be recorded and rebroadcasted. The second one, during the opening sessions, all participants mute the microphone. And the third, in the Q&A sessions, questions can be delivered directly. Click on raise hand below the participant box, or please type your questions in the chat box on Zoom or YouTube by mentioning your name, organization, city, and then question. Moderator will then summarize and deliver the questions to the speakers. The fourth, the chat box is used only for asking questions. Commenting present, I'm listening, etc. is not allowed so as to get questions sorted easily. And the last one, attendees have to fulfill the attendance form for getting the e-certificate. The link to the attendance form will be sent to the chat box either on Zoom or YouTube. I think that's all our rules for today's international webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's begin the International Webinar 2022 with the theme International Technology Integration on STEM Education. The Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to me to inform you that among us here we have the Honorable Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Honorable Dean of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, the Honorable all Vice Deans in the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences. And also, we would like to give a warm welcome to our keynote speakers, the Honorable Associate Professor Dr. Saripah RSA from University Teknologi Mara, Malaysia, the Honorable Dr. Kin Eng Chin from Edith Cowan University, Australia, and the Honorable Professor Dr. Wara Sumarni from Universitas Negeri Semarang. We also would like to give a warm welcome to all faculties and participants who are joining us in Zoom and YouTube streaming. Ladies and gentlemen, let us sing the national anthem of Indonesia and UNNES. All rise.
internasional, melimpah berkah rahmat-Nya. Semoga UNNES selalu jaya. Universitas Negeri Semarang menjulang setinggi angkasa, membangun insan yang akademis, berkarakter sehat berdaya guna, berlandaskan nilai Pancasila, Undang-Undang Dasar 45, dilatih dharma perguruan tinggi sebagai dasar pengabdiannya. Majulah Universitas Negeri Semarang di tengah derap pembangunan, mendidik putra bangsa menjadi cendekia untuk Indonesia tercinta, berwawasan nilai konservasi, bereputasi internasional, melimpah berkah rahmat-Nya. Semoga UNNES selalu jaya.
Thank you. You may return to your seat. To welcome all distinguished guests and participants, we would like to welcome Ms. Rifa Atunisa, PhD, as the chairwoman of the committee. The time is yours.
The Honorable Rector of UNNES, Professor Dr. Faktur Rahman M. Hum, the Honorable Vice Rector of Academic Affairs, Professor Dr. Zainuri S.A.M.S.D. AKT, Dean of Faculty Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Dr. Sugianto MSI, all the keynote speakers, invited guests, head of departments, head of the study program in Universitas Negeri Semarang, organizing committee of international webinar, and distinguished participants from overseas countries and provinces in Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. On behalf of the committee, I would like to welcome you all to the international webinar. This year, UNNES is celebrating its 57th anniversary in June 2022. With respect to university anniversary, the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Universitas Negeri Semarang hold international webinar with theme Innovative Technology Integrations on STEM Education. We are very glad to inform you all that this webinar has attracted many participants. More than 800 participants were registered to this webinar and joining in this Zoom meeting and via YouTube live streaming. The participants of this webinar are coming from 34 provinces in Indonesia, from Aceh to Papua, and the participants from overseas countries from China, Malaysia, Thailand, Japan, Australia, and India. On this special occasion, I would like to thank and appreciate to all the keynote speakers, Associate Professor Dr. Sarifah Ruzaina from UITM Malaysia, Dr. King Enchin from Edith Cowatt University, Australia, Professor Dr. Woro Sumarni MSI from Universitas Negeri Semarang, Indonesia, all participants, members of the organizing committee that have been working very hard. I would like to thank them for their dedication, time, and efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the committee, I would like to apologize if there are any mistakes in organizing this webinar event. Thank you all for your presence and participations, and you are the very important part of this webinar success. Thank you, and enjoy the webinar. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is the welcoming and keynote speech from Vice Rector for Academic Affairs on behalf of Rector of Universitas Negeri Semarang. For Professor Dr. Zainuri SA MSI AKT, the time is yours.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Morning from Semarang, Central Java, Indonesia. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Allah SWT for blessing and mercy that we could assemble in this international webinar, Innovation Technology, Integration on STEM Education. Honorable Dean Faculty, Mathematics and Natural Sciences and team, the excellent speakers, Associate Professor Dr. Sarifah Zaina Set Aris from UITM Malaysia, Dr. Kin Ang Chin from Editown University Australia, and Professor Dr. Koro Sumarni from Universitas Negeri Semarang. I would like to say thank you very much to all speakers that you will present insightful ideas according to your field to expertise in this webinar. All distinguished guests, allow me on behalf of Rector Universitas Negeri Semarang to take great pleasure welcoming all of you to this webinar. I believe that all speakers will improve knowledge and experiences of all participants and provide significant scientific contribution. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to UNNES at glance. The vision of Universitas Negeri Semarang is to be a conservation insight university with international reputation, with spirit house of knowledge developing the culture. We continuously build and develop collaboration with foreign institutions to improve human resources and bring out goodness to the world. UNNES, as a house of science, we always do the very best to produce quality human resources in various fields in order to make better life. Ladies and gentlemen, this international webinar brings an interesting theme, and currently STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics has grown and important in global policy outreach. STEM education and research are being more acknowledged as key factors as national development, economic growth, and societal well-being. It is also increasingly important in connection to business and involvement and higher education involvement. Integrated STEM education is an effort to combine some or all of the four disciplines of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics into one class, unit, or lesson. That is based on connection between the subjects and real-world problems. STEM education has grown in importance for the globe as it offers several benefits, and we can see here in this slide. STEM is also essential in addressing three challenges: climate change, the industrial revolution 4.0, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, UNNES researchers have used technology in STEM education such as augmented reality, virtual reality, 3D printing, robotic, programming, technology-based STEM, outdoor learning, and others. In the end of my speech, let me read the quote from Neil Armstrong. Research is creating new knowledge. So let's do our best. Enjoy the conference. With say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, this international webinar officially open. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Zainuri S.A. MSE AKT, for welcoming remark and presenting the excellence of Universitas Negeri Semarang. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the very moment that we have been waiting for, the plenary session. To lead the discussion, we will have Mr. Muhammad Alauddin, PhD, as the moderator. Mr. Alauddin is an assistant professor in Department of Chemistry, Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Universitas Negeri Semarang. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome our moderator, Mr. Muhammad Alauddin, PhD.
Thank you, Ms. Safira, for kind introduction. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Muhammad Alauddin, and I will be the moderator for this session. Thank you for joining this session. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have three great speakers who will deliver talk on STEM education. Welcome Dr. Sarifah Ruzaina from UITM Malaysia, Dr. Kin Eng Chin from Edith Cowan University Australia, and Professor Dr. Wara Sumarni from Universitas Negeri Semarang. Before we start, I'll give some announcements. Question and answer session will be held after all the speakers finish deliver their presentation. And if you have any question during the presentation, you could write your question on chat box. And if you is asking question to the specific speaker, please mention the name of the speaker on your question. So let's begin. For this first speaker, we would have Dr. Sarifah Ruzaina from UITM Malaysia. Good morning, Dr. Sarifah.
Morning.
How are you?
Alauddin, Alhamdulillah, good.
Nice to see you. And thank you for joining this webinar.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me as well.
You're welcome. Before you deliver your talk, let me read your short biography. Associate Professor Dr. Sarifah Ruzaina Aris is currently a senior lecturer at Science and Mathematics Department, Faculty of Education, University Technology, Semarang, Malaysia. She received her BSc honors in chemistry in 1995 from University of Malaya. Then she pursued her master's and PhD in chemistry education in 2002 and 2006, respectively, at the same alma mater. She has several publications, research projects, as well as silver and bronze medal in invention and innovation competition, hearing her name in natural product. Her research interest is in the field of human information processing cognitive science, misconception in chemistry, teaching and learning approach in chemistry, and also alternative assessment. Dr. Sarifah, you have 30 minutes to deliver your presentation, and please.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, thank you, Dr. Mama Alauddin. So allow me to share my screen. Yeah? You can hear me very clearly, yeah, Doctor?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude, yeah, and thank you to organizer for inviting me to share some insight on STEM education. Okay, I would like to highlight some of our efforts basically for this session to show our efforts, to show our unwavering support for STEM education, since we believe it builds a skill set that emphasize on the critical thinking and problem solving ability. Right, so therefore I'll share this. Is the title of my today sharing session is preparing and supporting future STEM educators. And currently I'm the Dean of Faculty of Education, so there's a lot more for me and my team to think of on how are we going to maintain, to support, because this STEM education is nothing new to us. Yeah, but how are we going to prepare? How are we going to support and to sustain this STEM initiative? I think this is the most important, because we are going to prepare our young generation for a future, enchanted future that we something that we cannot predict, right? So this is, I think, our role that I think we need to look into. All right, so before I proceed with my presentation, I would like to just share a bit on University Technology Mara. Okay, for those who are not familiar, or this is the first time that you heard about this University Technology Mara. So University Technology Mara is the largest university in Malaysia, right? So we have like 20 public, 20 public universities, and we have more than 300 private university in Malaysia. But we are the largest university, where we have established for more than 74 years. And then we have more than 526 programs, academic programs, and we have actually more than 36 campuses, branches. And at the moment, we have more than 800,000 graduates or alumni. Yeah. So this is a very quick, what you call that? A brief introduction of University Technology Mara. And those who are interested to participate with us or to collaborate with us, please go and visit our website to get more about us. Yeah. Okay. Now another thing about UITMs, although the ranking, the overall ranking is keep changing, but I think we are moving towards the direction where we'd like to have to be a globally renowned university. Although we are not at par as other universities, as prominent universities at our country and other parts of the world, but I think we are moving, we are soaring upwards in moving that direction, inshallah. All right, so basically this is programs that we are offered at Faculty of Education. Yeah, so why I'm sharing you this, because I would like you to have some ideas on what we are offering at Faculty of Education, University Technology Mara, because I think this is a start for us to collaborate. Yeah, there's a lot of things for us to collaborate in the future. So we have like a TESOL Foundation, and we have also diploma in early childhood education, where we are going to offer this diploma program, inshallah, early this year, September this year or early next year. And also we have 7 bachelor degree programs. So when you look at this, the program, the bachelor degree program that we are offered at the moment, so you can see that the experts we have at our faculty, the TESOLs, art education, art and science education, physical health education, all the sciences, to prepare our science teachers and also mathematics teachers. and we have like master's degree program. Me myself also, I have a few students. We have a few students here from Indonesia, and we have many students from China. And I also have one student from Indonesia, Master of Education, Management and Leadership. So we are open for everyone here to come be part of our family members and faculty of education to take this postgrad program. And also we have postgrad diploma. Sorry with the typing error here. Postgrad diploma in education, and also we have doctoral degree PhD in education. So there is a very big introduction of our faculty. So I hope those who are interested, I will leave my email and also an email address at the end of this slide. All right. So basically, as what I've been mentioned just now, individuals with these skills, with STEM skills, are more likely to be creative. So similarly, a country's ability to discover and produce new goods is critical to its economic prosperity and stability. I think everyone knows about that. The importance of STEM, the importance of this agenda, and importance of these STEM peoples, those who are in this field, to help the growth of economic prosperity and also stability. It doesn't mean that other fields are not important, but I think if we have to, please don't be in denial, because if you read reports from UNESCO, report from World Economic Forums and so on, we can see the importance of these people in STEM's background or STEM's field, where these are the important people that eventually will help to stabilize or make to increase economic of certain universities. So because the country's economy is fully dependent on new technology and scientific breakthroughs, so the role of STEM in emerging countries is very critical, right? Now, for this session, I'm not going to discuss the definition of role of STEM, because just now you have seen that the Dean, Prof. Dr. Zainuri, has also made very clear the meaning of STEM, and also during his highlight, the importance of STEM, and also the definition and the role of STEM, and during his welcoming address. So I'm not going to touch on that, but basically I'm going to more on this, how are we going to support, because we know that we cannot we have to really focus on how are we going to support, and we cannot we have to do this regularly. All right, so this is basically what I'm going to just to share my experience, and also to share what have we done at our faculty of education, and also at our countries. Now, basically, the development of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, so-called STEM education, maybe some of you know about this. It starts after the launch of Sputnik by Soviet Union in 1957. Just a very brief history on this STEM. So United States since then developed the science curriculum and initiatives to ensure the sustainability of creation of scientists, engineers for future usage. So rapid change in this business challenge, globalization, especially after the World War II, required the world to produce generation of scientists and engineers who are creative and innovative. So one of the methods is introducing the STEM education, right? So we know that the needs for STEM education become essential as the requirement of new skills and expertise to face new challenge of globalization and knowledge-based economy. I think everyone knows that, And the STEM education encompasses the field of, everyone knows, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So the main aim of STEM education is to produce human capital that is able to utilize interdisciplinary knowledge and an applicative approach in problem solving. So it is evidence that STEM education, teaching and learning process are able to enhance critical thinking and problem solving skills in the learners, right? So these skills are necessary, the one that I've mentioned just now, to ensure that learners are able to think critically and creatively, which will eventually stimulate their innovative thinking, right? So with the changes demand on society, especially nowadays, yeah, we are living in an interconnected world, in a VUCA world. So I think it is very necessary for us to take this STEM education as a serious matter to develop our country. So in the Malaysian Education Blueprint, yes, STEM is mentioned explicitly as a specific initiative to be taken by the ministry, not only ministry, but this is actually the task of everyone, the role of everybody to hand in hand to uphold this initiative or this agenda. Now, the initiative is to strengthen STEM education as to produce quality and sufficient human capital in STEM to drive the economy. So we have in Malaysian Education Blueprint, yeah, there are 11 shifts, yeah, in Malaysian Education Blueprint, and the shift 1 provide equal success to quality education of an international standard, whereby the strengthen STEM education is one of the initiatives. How? Yeah, strengthen quality of STEM education through an enhanced curriculum, the testing and training of teachers, and the use of blended learning models and so on. Right, this Malaysian Education Blueprint has been applied in 2013 without realizing that we're going to have a pandemic. So a pandemic has actually expedited this especially this blended learning models. Yeah. Now, so we can look at from this Malaysian Education Blueprint initiative, Malaysian initiative. There's two things that have been emphasized, which are enhanced curriculum, where the curriculum will be enhanced through emphasis on higher order thinking skills and applicability to everyday phenomena. Yeah, so top-up curriculum modules targeting the largest content and skill gaps among students identified in the TIMSS and PISA assessment will be rolled out. Yeah, so ICT innovation also and a blended learning that I have shared earlier have been introduced to enhance students and learning and understanding. And of course, we target students and also parents, through an informal outreach to increase interest in science and mathematics, right? And secondly is to promote, increase public interest and awareness in STEM through campaign and partnership with industries and also from agencies, NGOs, and so on. Yeah. Okay. Now, so among one of the reasons, why selected STEM has been selected as national agenda and innovative initiatives are due to declining enrollment quality of STEMs. I think this is not only the problems at our university, but I think this is a global issues. Yeah, if you read all the journals and so on, I think this is one of the main reasons why we need to focus into this STEM so-called STEM discipline. Yeah, the first one is limited awareness about STEM. Yeah, there is a general lack of awareness among students and parents of the value of STEM learning and its relevance to everyday life, because they fail to relate it with everyday life, the application of STEM and so on. So people, in fact, the parents themselves sometimes they cannot connect. Why must my children, for example, need to learn STEM? Because they cannot see the application and also the needs to learn STEM, because the educators, because the teachers fail to create the connection and also to create the awareness among their teachers and also among the students. Yeah. And then perceived difficulty in STEM subjects. So there's a perception among students and parents that STEM subjects are harder than art subjects to attend. And sometimes arts people, they have more income generation compared to the STEM people. Yeah. So this results in students opting for the art stream. So we can see that I'm sorry to say that in Malaysia, we are still struggling to encourage our secondary students to go into to pursue their studies in science fields area, because of this connotation on the difficulty. The STEM subject is very difficult to to get good grades, for example. Now, the third one is a content-heavy curriculum. The current STEM curriculum places greater emphasis on content at the expense of practical aspect and does not sufficiently emphasize its relevance to everyday life. So this is connection. There's a connection between the third and the second point here, right? So these factors actually contribute to reduce student interest level in this area, which eventually make them don't want to pursue in this STEM field. Yeah. So the fourth one is inconsistent quality of teaching and learning. So teaching and learning approach are teacher-centered, and students lack sufficient opportunities to be critical, creative, and innovative. Yeah. So some teachers also lack requisite knowledge in science math subject. I think I have to say that. Yeah. In addition, some teachers invest heavily in preparing their students for examinations. So we are still, I'm not sure with other countries, but we are still exam oriented. We study, we equip, or we are moving towards direction where we equip students with, we prepare our students to get an Ace, not because we want to have to equip them or to fill them with a good knowledge of STEMs, knowledge that they can use as a survival things when they go out, for example. So these are among the things that we need to look at seriously. And the fifth one is limited and outdated infrastructure, which I think, some of the countries have this kind of problems, and we have to look into this matter because it will challenge the way we deliver STEMs, and also it may affect interests of our students. Yeah. All right. Now, just to share with everyone that we have here in Malaysia conceptual framework of STEM education in Malaysia, right? If you can see, we call it the from cradle to career, because the framework was constructed using learning theories such as situated cognition theory and pedagogies that will lead achieving key learning outcome, like what you have look at here, the students, educators, and also modality, and also the level from kindergarten until a community. So you can see that everyone is interconnected, and also in this framework, you can see that the four STEM here, the four STEM disciplines here are connected by block and tackle of four police bounded by the roof of community of practice. So the police allow learning activities of STEM subject to be implemented more efficiently. So this is what the conceptual framework that we have, especially to help teachers and also students, and also students and teachers, especially a curriculum developer, especially in primary and secondary schools. Yeah. Now, so I'm going to go into this. What have we done at Faculty of Education? Yeah. As a result of what I have mentioned earlier, what I have shared earlier, so as a result of considerations, so notify a faculty member to relook and examine the existing curriculum that we have to provide our future teachers with the required knowledge and abilities in STEM education. So we have added few new courses or subjects to our recent curriculum. Yeah. So among these, innovative technologies in teaching and learning, gamification in teaching STEM, have what been mentioned by our dean just now, UNNES dean, about this virtual reality and so on, and integrated STEM education, creativity and creative teaching in science, and also Minecraft for educators. So these are among our initiative to prepare our future teachers, to provide our future teachers with the required knowledge and abilities in STEM education. So we have added this into our recent curriculum. And during this construction of this course, we engage and get input from STEM-related industries players and subject matter experts who have this from several disciplines, especially in science, math, technology, and engineering people. No, not only that, but we also support our researchers at the faculty to apply for grant related to STEM disciplines and bring research into classroom, because sometimes we forget to bring the finding of our research into classroom where it can actually help to improve our curriculum, teaching, learning, assessment, and so on. Now, so these are some of the grants that we receive, listed in the slides are among the grants that we receive related to STEM education. And I think I don't have to read it one by one, but actually this is to support our strategy, our initiative, and also our Malaysian agenda towards this STEM education, because this is something that must be ongoing to create this, to make people understand the importance of STEM education and so on, right? And some of this, I think some of this grant, I think this is, I'm not sure which one. Okay, yeah, one of these development, number 7 grant is with UNNES, yeah. This is a matching grant with UNNES. So I would like to invite who are interested to be our grant partner, okay, to uphold this STEM agenda, right? Okay. Now, these are among the STEM activities that we have carried out, because we realize that in STEM education, teachers, educators, lecturers play the most important role. So as a result, they are the first to be equipped, reskilled, and retrained in STEM education. So without hesitation, faculty prepared a variety of programs and workshops for our lecturers to improve their skills in STEM teaching with the assistance of STEM-related industries. So these are among the things that we have conducted at our Faculty of Education in UiTM. Yeah. Okay. This is also among STEM activities. This is before the pandemic, where we can do these activities face-to-face, because it involves physical activities, conducted in one of our field, So the department in this activities, Department of Science Education, one of our department and Faculty of Education with the help of Science Education Society, in collaboration with Ministry of Energy, Science, Technology, Environment and Climate Change, MESTEC, and the Ministry that time, and the Ministry of Education Malaysia MOHI, and organized by the Science Education Technology Festival. We call it ScienTech 2018, located at our faculty, and the National STEM Festival, was enlivened with the participation of almost 226 participants, consisting of secondary school students from all over Malaysia. And among the activities that have been carried out, and also not only activities, but also competition, among competition and also activities are water rocket, solar car, solar boat, paper plane, science drama, design and innovation, school lab, and school safety awareness among the categories that being compete for this STEM festival. And inshallah, next year we're going to have these STEM activities. We're going to continue with this ScienTech 2023, inshallah. And I'm sure, I think we will open these STEM activities or ScienTech 2023 for our collaborators, national and also international, inshallah. All right, so the main objective of initiatives, I think this is among the objective. I think everyone knows, the main objective, and this is not limited to the point listed in this slide, for example, like awareness and culturation. I think this is also one of the main agenda have been stipulated in Malaysian Education Blueprint that I have mentioned just now. And then secondly, smart partnership. So this is what we've been doing, because we know that the technology, the engineering, all the science and technology, they keep changing and changing even in a second. Sometimes it change in a second, it change, because sometimes it takes time. We want to improve our curriculum, but then suddenly the technology change and so on. So I think we need to really engage with a smart partnership with our collaborators, industries, and public agencies to organize workshops and so on, right? And the third one is upskill and reskill to sharpen teachers' knowledge and skills in teaching STEM-related subject through continuous professional development, and also again stimulate interest. I think this is among the main objective, because if people or if students there is no interest, is teacher there is no interest in teachers, in students. So I think the agenda just it just live in our blueprint, in our books of our strategic planning and so on. Yeah. All right. Now, okay, this is one of the latest studies that have been conducted with from one of our students, yeah, our pre-service students from science in faculty. She conducted this explanatory sequential mixed method study. We involved 40 trainee teachers from 4 different science education programs that, like I have mentioned just now. We have biology, chemistry, physics, and also maths teachers that we would like to produce. And the objective of the study to investigate trainee teachers' attitude in terms of values and feasibility towards STEM education. And secondly, to identify their readiness in the areas of subject matter, knowledge, and pedagogical content knowledge to integrate STEM. And the findings are a positive attitude towards integrated STEM education in terms of its values. However, negative attitude towards integrated STEM education in terms of its feasibility. Yeah. However, they have positive attitude, alhamdulillah, very good, on their personal desire to become integrated STEM teachers. So meaning to say that we can mold them, we can reskill them, we can upskill them. Yeah, moderately low level pedagogical content knowledge and moderately high level of subject content knowledge on STEM related subject above. This is a self-perception, but again, because some of them, they have this low motivation or low, what we call that, skills that we need to equip or to emphasize again, yeah, the resilient and also the adaptability kind of skills that they need to have, especially in dealing with the 21st century's the current era and also the enchanted future. And I think that is the most skills that we need to equip our students with. Yeah, and also the implication from this recent study, there is a need to identify the obstacles in strengthening the trainee teachers curriculum through new teaching and learning approach, as well as skills and abilities to improve student and public awareness on STEM education. All right, so I would like to share the way forward. Do I have time?
Yes, you have about 5 minutes.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, now the way forward, I would like to share the way forward. I think the Ministry of Education in Malaysia reported, yeah, that the percentage of students graduated from science stream, including technical and vocational program, are on a decline. Yeah. And moreover, the percentage of a secondary school student who met the minimum prerequisite to enroll in science also decreasing. So this situation raises concern about the capability of the education system in producing adequate STEM graduates for the economic sustainability, as what I've been mentioned just now, right? So I guess this is the important. So this is what, based on that concern, so I think I would like to put some notes here, or on the way forward. Yeah, the first thing is that continuous effort, to equip and support faculty members and students as STEM educators. Yeah, don't stop there. Okay, although it's some kind of like there's a slowly progress. For example, when you look at the statistic, when you look at the data that the students enroll in STEM field, for example, but please don't stop there, right? It must be a continuous effort. And secondly, support in terms of curriculum. So we have to actually revise our curriculum regularly, to look at the content, pedagogy, and facilities, because STEM, like I mentioned earlier, because it keeps changing. Especially, I keep saying this because we are living in a VUCA world. We are living in an interconnected world, that the changing, a fast changing, rapid changing in a technology. So we have to also work or align with that rapid changing, to reskill, to skill, reskill, to smart, with our smart partnership with industries, STEM-related activities, to come up with the STEM-related activities. And third one is a STEM research interest group. Yeah, I would like to create a research interest group, consists of members from different fields related to STEM. And I will also would like to invite anyone interested, so that we can come up with the Asian STEM group research, for example, right? And where we can enhance through this collaboration, research grant, and also publication. And the another thing that is important to create change agent or influencer that encompass of scientists, teachers, students, and mentors to attract secondary students pursue in STEM field, right? So this, because we know that our what we call that, our students, yeah, our future students, they people, a teenager, yeah, that is actually it's not that difficult to influence, but we need to have a right strategy how to influence them. Yeah. Now, to inculcate college attending and career ready mindset in STEM field, this is another thing. So we have there's a lot of opportunities here where we can collaborate with partners, where we can collaborate with other universities, yeah, to change this mindset, yeah, and eventually increase advanced training and careers in STEM field, expand the STEM capable workforce, and increase scientific literacy for all students when we talk about the STEM agenda. Yeah. So I think that's all from me. I hope get benefits. This session can benefit some of you, and maybe we can have a future collaboration. So I leave my email address here, and I would like to extend, if you like to collaborate with us, so we are most welcome. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Sarifah.
Let me stop sharing first. Oops. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Sarifah, for your grateful presentation. Well, let's moving to the next speaker, the second speaker. Here we have Dr. Kin Eng Chin from Editkoan University. Dr. Kin Eng Chin is a senior lecturer in mathematics education. He graduated with a PhD in mathematics education from the University of Warwick, UK. He developed a new framework for making sense of mathematics based on his PhD study. He has extensive experience in teaching mathematics education courses, university mathematics courses, and secondary mathematics. Prior to joining Editkoan University, he was a lecturer in mathematics education at Flinders University, Australia. And Dr. Kin Eng's primary research interests include mathematical thinking for all levels of mathematics, dyscalculia, and also STEM education. Hello, Dr. Kin.
Hello, Muhammad Aludin.
Okay, how are you? Good, thank you.
I'm good, thank you.
Nice to see you. We are pleased
Nice
to
to
having
see you,
you
yeah.
as a speaker here in our webinar.
Yeah, definitely, it's a pleasure to be invited as a guest, as a keynote speaker for this webinar.
All right, Dr. Kin, you have 30 minutes to deliver your talk, and please.
Okay, I'll share my screen now. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my presentation. I'm Kineng from Edith Covered University, Western Australia. So today I'm going to talk about building STEM education on a strong mathematical foundation. Right, just to give you a bit of perspectives on STEM education. So perhaps some of you might wonder why we need to have a STEM education. Well, if you if you look at a STEM, actually, if you try to reflect on your primary education, secondary education, and also your university education, you will notice that, well, all the subjects or learning areas that you learn, they are being fragmented. For example, like in primary school, you learn several subjects such as like maths, science, and so on. And then when you proceed to secondary education, you will learn even more subjects such as like, well, you have mathematics, you have additional mathematics, and like science, you can have like physics, chemistry, and biology, and so on, you see. And then when you move on to your university education, in order to get your bachelor degree, you need to complete a range of different courses, you see. So the question is, when we join the job market, you see, you may notice that all the problems or most of the problems that we encounter nowadays, they don't exist in like subjects, you see. And all the problems that we encounter is actually, they are integrated, they are blended, they are sophisticated. So this questions the curriculum of the necessity of fragmenting the curriculum into distinct disciplines. The point I'm making here is, well, is it necessary for us to move from fragmentation to connection? So that's why STEM education exists up to a certain extent to better prepare us to join the job market, to be able to solve various problems in a STEM context, you see. Okay, so just to give you a bit of perspectives on STEM education. So STEM education, if you look at this slide, STEM education refers to solving problems that draw on concepts and procedures from mathematics and science, incorporating the teamwork and design methodology of engineering and using appropriate technology. Well, in fact, this is just one of the perspectives, one of the many perspectives on STEM education. In fact, if you ask me, is there a definition of STEM education? If you look at journal papers and you look at the research areas in STEM education, in fact, there's no definite definition for STEM education. But, well, when we talk about STEM education, there is a general agreement or consensus of acknowledging STEM education as we try to integrate the four disciplines like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics under one subject, but we don't try to fragment them into four distinct disciplines, you see. So this is just one of the most highlighted perspectives about a STEM education. Let's look at mathematics and STEM. What's the relationship between mathematics and STEM, and what are the roles of mathematics and STEM? Well, if you look at this slide, you can see that actually teaching mathematics well is an important component of a comprehensive STEM program. There's more to mathematics, however, than being part of STEM. The mathematics that students learn in school includes content and thinking that can be used as tools for tackling integrative STEM problems. Well, Of course, one of the main roles of mathematics is to be used as a tool for us to solve our various problems. But on top of that, are there any roles that mathematics can do? Understand context? Well, definitely. See, it helps us to generate ideas. It helps us to notice patterns. It helps us in design. So instead of thinking mathematics as a tool only to solve STEM problems, in fact, there are more roles actually that we can see from mathematics. So now, I just want to highlight one important construct, okay, in teaching and learning of mathematics. You see, so according to the respected National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, sense making may be considered as developing understanding of a situation, context, or concept by connecting it with existing knowledge or previous experience. Okay, so first of all, let's think about why we need to make sense of mathematics. You see, is it important to be able to make sense of maths? Well, I think there has been a great debate regarding like teaching with conceptual understanding, teaching with procedures, and so on. You see, and the main point I'm making here is we need to learn maths by making sense of it. If you cannot make sense of maths, you see, maths is just like a subject or just a tool, and then you cannot learn with interest. And not only that, it will not give you pleasure. It may not be able to help you to solve STEM problems, because if you can make sense of mathematics, see, you can apply the mathematics to familiar and unfamiliar contexts. The point that I'm making here is, well, eventually in maths education, what we are trying to do is actually to better equip us to become a good problem solvers, to equip us to develop our capacity to use mathematics to solve a wide range of problems, especially in unfamiliar problems. So that's the purpose. Right, so let's look at, well, as you can see on this slide, sense making may be considered as developing understanding of a situation, context, or concept by connecting it with existing knowledge or previous experience. And now we still need a mechanism of how to make sense of mathematics, how we can explain the sense making of mathematics. Right, so on this slide, you can see supportive and problematic conceptions in making sense of mathematics. This is a framework, actually. This is a framework developed by myself, and also my previous PhD supervisor, Emeritus Professor David Toh of Warwick University. And out of my PhD study, we have developed this framework, actually, on how we can make sense of math. And later on, I'm going to demonstrate how this framework can be used to understand the sense-making process. And then I will link back this, how can we use this framework in STEM education, okay? So we'll go on, we will do this step by step. So first of all, I would like to introduce this framework to all of you. The framework of supportive and problematic conceptions in making sense of mathematics. Well, in making sense of maths, we may develop various personal conceptions, you see. So in this case, we can categorize these personal conceptions into two main categories. The first kind of conception is known as supportive conceptions. Well, what are supportive conceptions? Supportive conceptions are conceptions that work in an old context and continue to work in a new context. Okay. And then we have problematic conceptions. What are problematic conceptions? They refer to conceptions that work in an old context but do not continue to work in a new context. Well, probably I need to give a few examples here to illustrate my points. So think of a conception. Let's say, well, I've been thinking what mathematics topic to teach, but in order to cope probably to the pace of a wider group of audience, I've chosen a very basic concept in maths, which is multiplication, you see. Well, I can also use complex numbers to talk about this conception, but I think probably not all of my audience here, they learn complex numbers. So I would say, well, we talk about multiplication, you see. Everybody knows multiplication, everybody knows multiplication, or everybody knows about numbers, you see. So my study later on, I'm going to use multiplication to demonstrate how to use this. But now as an example, I will use like numbers to demonstrate, to give you a general idea about this framework. So for example, when we first learn numbers, you see, you know that, well, if you add two natural numbers, you will always get a bigger number. Remember, okay? When you add two natural numbers, you will always get a bigger number. So what are natural numbers? Natural numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. You see, that is natural numbers, you see. And if we move on to whole numbers, you see, from natural numbers, we move to whole numbers, which include a zero. Whole numbers, they are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, if we add two whole numbers together, you will still always get a bigger number. So the conception remains valid. What is the initial conception? The conception of adding two numbers will always give you a bigger number. This conception is true in natural numbers. This conception is still valid when we move on to whole numbers. However, if let's say we move on to negative integers. So if we move on to negative integers, is this conception still valid, you see? So it might not be valid anymore. Well, so that's why suddenly adding two numbers to become a bigger number will become a problematic conception in the context of negative integers. So that's why I'm trying to highlight, you see, the kind of conflict that students might encounter in learning maths. And these are just numbers, you see, these are just numbers. And later on, I'm going to put these mathematics into various contexts, you see. When I put the mathematics into various contexts, you can see clearly how context can impede our sense making and can impede our ability to solve problems, especially STEM problems. Okay, so let's move on. Okay. Right, so now I'm going to show you a study that I've conducted in 2018, and I have published a paper, you see, in 2009, which is about multiplication. Well, in this study, actually, the aim of this study is actually to explore the supportive and problematic conceptions related to multiplication in solving a range of daily life problems. Okay, that is the main aim of that study, which was performed in 2018. So some of you may question, you see, why I've chosen this study, and I want to present this study in this speech. Well, the point I'm making, the importance of this study is, based on these studies, I hope that most of you will become aware how the nature of mathematics can impede our problem-solving ability, in particular in solving STEM problems. And in these studies, actually, I've sent out invitation email to a group of maths teachers, of mathematics, secondary mathematics teachers. And eventually, I've received three secondary school teachers. They accepted this invitation and they joined this study as voluntary. So we have three secondary maths teachers here. They were Jessica, Sarah, and Claire. And in this study, I've used a survey assessment and also a follow-up interview to elicit their conceptions about multiplication. So in this survey assessment, the teachers, the maths teachers, they need to answer 7 items that relates to daily life problems. Some of them, they are STEM problems. And then after they have answered those simple problems, and they need to undergo a follow-up interview in order to gain further insight on their responses to this survey assessment. So now let's go through this survey assessment quickly. Right, so in fact, we have more. I have more items in this survey assessment, but I've just briefly chosen 5 items here to report in this keynote speech. So first of all, I asked the participants, the mathematics teachers, to describe multiplication in your own words. Then you can see on this slide, there are 4 other problems. These 4 problems, they are pretty straightforward. And then I guess most of you would agree that these are just daily life problems. And some of them, they are related to STEM context. For example, when we talk about like rectangle, if you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4th dot point here, which sounds a rectangular playground is 8 meters wide and 12 meters long. What is the area of playground? Well, this is a problem that may relate to engineering because it involves measurement. And then we will go through this item one by one, and then we will try to look at the responses that I have received from my participants. So some results, because we have a lot of results here. I have a lot of results, so I'm just going to present some results here. Jessica, so we have 3 participants. We have Jessica, Claire, and Sarah. So all of them responded that they conceive multiplication is a situation where you add several numbers with the same value. For example, what is 3 times 5? Well, most of them just say, well, 3 times 5 is actually 5 plus 5 plus 5, which is equal to 15. So what does this mean? So in this case, what we can see is we were trying to interpret that multiplication is actually a repeated addition. Not a problem. I think everybody agrees that, okay? If we look at the Australian curriculum, okay, if you look at the Australian curriculum, you can see that actually multiplication is introduced as repeated addition initially, okay? And after that, this is another item from the survey assessment. So you can spend 1 minute now to look at this item and think of how are you going to solve this item. Well, Mark had 2 bags of stars. There are 3 stars in each bag. How many stars does Mark have all together? Well, very straightforward. I've chosen a typical response here to show you guys. Well, it is just the same as mentioned by Clay. It is just the same number that is repeatedly being added to form a new number. She pointed to she pointed at her writing, which was 3 plus 3. So I think everybody agrees to this response. So the 3 participants basically, well, they responded in a similar way. Another problem, daily life problem, okay? Daily life problem. Well, for example, the cost of a pen is $2. Peter bought in 4 pens. Peter bought 4 pens. How much did he pay for the pens? Well, again, I've chosen a typical response here. In fact, Sarah, Jessica, and Clay, they gave a very similar response here. Well, actually, number 2 is added repeatedly 4 times, and then I just use multiplication, so it will be easier. So from this response, we can see that the 3 respondents, they were perceiving multiplication as repeated addition. So if you look at the context of this problem, is this a STEM problem? Well, if you go back to the perspective of STEM, you see, STEM involves science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, you see. But this, you may want to say this is a financial problem. Okay, this is a finance that relates to money, which is not under STEM. So what I'm trying to highlight here is mathematics is actually not only can help you to solve problems in STEM context, and clearly in this problem is a financial problem, or probably it's just daily life problems, and it's maybe it's out of, you may want to argue that this problem is out of STEM context, but the point that I'm making here is mathematics not only able to help us to solve STEM problems, but also problems outside of the STEM fields. Well, this is another problem. So if you look at this problem, you can see that, well, a rectangle, let's go through this problem together. A rectangular playground is 8 meters wide and 12 meters long. What is the area of the playground? So you may say this is an engineering problem because it involves measurement. Well, I think it's clear. So in this situation, if I ask you to solve this problem, how are you going to solve this problem? Spend probably 10 seconds to think about this. I can say 90% of the students might say that actually, well, this is an area problem. So if I want to find the area of a playground, okay, which is a rectangular playground, I will just use the formula, you see, okay, the formula, and then you just need to multiply the length of the sides of the playground, you see. So, and then alternately, you just do 8 times 12, and then you get meters square. So the point is, what is the meaning of multiplication in this situation? In the previous questions, we can see that you use multiplication, and then you can still interpret multiplication as repeated addition. So if you think of these questions, if your student asks you, you see, why we need to perform 8 times 12, how are you going to interpret the meaning of multiplication in this context? Is it still repeated addition? What are we repeating? What operation are we repeating actually? Is it true that we still repeated addition? You can see that, you see, Claire and Sarah, on this slide, I've shown you the responses that I received from Claire and Sarah. Clearly, from these 2 responses, okay, you can see that they are being skeptical with the meaning of repeated addition in this particular instance. Okay, so they were not sure whether multiplication can be repeated, can be interpreted as repeated addition or not, but they perceive that multiplication should be interpreted as repeated addition under this situation, because eventually they got the answer is 8 times 12, you see. However, Jessica gave a more meaningful response here because you can see that, she was trying to make sense of the maths, okay, in particular multiplication. And you can see that she draw a grid diagram and then try to dissect it into small squares, one by one, and then by counting these squares together, she can sort of sense that, you can see, we just need to add up the squares and then to get the final answer. But remember, even though she can link this multiplication to repeated addition, but there is a change of mathematical meaning, From counting to measurement, initially, we present the multiplication in the context of counting individual objects. But here, when you multiply two things together, you get an area, which is pretty different. That's what I'm trying to highlight is when we use the mathematics in STEM context, there's a change of mathematical meaning, Okay, initially, for example, let's say you have a mathematical expression as 2 times 3. 2 times 3, you can talk about 2 lots of 3s. So which means that 3 plus 3 is equal to 6. So you can justify that 2 times 3 is 6. But if you have 2 meters times 3 meters, you are going to get an area of 6 meters squared. Okay, so that is the change of mathematical meaning. And I want to present you with another problem, which is the final problem, okay? And in this problem, you can look at this. 3/4 of a pan of brownies was sitting on the counter. We decided to eat 1/3 of the brownies in the pan. How much of the whole pan of brownies did you eat? Well, on this slide, you can see this is the response that I got from Sarah. And then from Claire, the responses from Claire and Jessica, So obviously, okay, Claire used subtraction to solve this problem, which was incorrect. And Claire's got an incorrect answer. And then Jessica did manage actually to solve this problem. In fact, she multiplied 3/4 and 1/3 together. So looking at the multiplication in this particular context, 3/4 times 1/3. If I ask you, can you still interpret multiplication as repeated addition in this situation or not? The answer is no. There's no way that you can interpret multiplication as repeated addition in this particular context, So what I'm trying to say here is actually, okay, when you use the maths in different contexts, okay, such as in STEM context, okay, you will encounter the changes of mathematical meanings. That's why this kind of conflict will occur and will impede our ability to solve the problem, So what I'm trying to highlight here is, well, I just want to give you a brief summary of my presentation here. Let me see my time. Okay, I still have roughly a few minutes to end my presentation here. So as you can see on this slide, actually, multi-contextual mathematics in STEM. When we use mathematics to solve STEM problems, we need to realize that we are applying mathematics in a variety of contexts. And when we apply the mathematics in a variety of contexts, there will be a change in the mathematical meanings, such as the one that I presented to you just now. For example, I give you problems. Okay, you can see that how the meaning changes. Initially, we can interpret multiplication and as repeated addition. And then when it goes into the engineering problem and it goes into another those daily life problems, you can see that the interpretation of repeated addition for multiplication may not be applicable to other contexts, you see. So this shows that the kind of conflicts and obstacles that students need to go through in order to be able to successfully solve various problems in STEM. So as maths educator or as educator in general, in order to help our students, or to be precise, in order to better equip our students to be better prepared to solve future problems, such as the STEM problems, we need to make students aware of the changes of mathematical meanings. And here, the framework of supportive and problematic conceptions can be potentially useful when we try to teach our students to solve problems. We need to think about the maths. We need to think about the nature of the maths. We need to think about how the conceptions may change from supportive to problematic, or the conceptions may be possible to change from problematic to supportive. And the deeper question is, are we as educators, curriculum designers, and teachers aware of this phenomena? Probably most of the teachers, we are not aware of these changes of mathematical meanings. And what we need to do is, we actually need to encourage learners to cope with changes of meaning by building confidence in earlier success and making sense of problematic aspects in new contexts. So that's how actually I link this framework and to STEM. My main point here is actually to highlight that when we use the mathematics to solve STEM problems, we must be prepared to encounter changes of meanings. And in order to help students to understand these changes of meanings, we can use the notions of supportive and problematic conceptions. That's all my presentation. Thank you.
Halo, Prof.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining this webinar. Before you deliver your talk, let me read your brief biography. Professor Dr. Waro Sumarni, MSc, is a professor in chemistry education. She obtained doctoral degree from graduate school, Universitas Negeri Semarang, majoring in science education. And her master's degree was obtained from Institut Teknologi Bandung, majoring in chemistry. And her bachelor degree was obtained from the same alma mater as her doctoral degree. She joined UNNES as lecturer since 1993, and she has extensive experience in teaching chemistry education courses and also supervising bachelor thesis as well as master and doctoral students. Her research focus is on the ethno-STEM integrated learning method, and then also about the 21st century skills and science literacy. Her research has been published in various reputable journals, and she has also written 12 books and book chapters. Okay, and in this occasion, Professor Waro, is going to present her talk on STEM education. Professor Warasumarni, the time is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Alauddin, for the time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to share my research experience in this webinar. First of all, let me extend my gratitude to the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Universitas Negeri Semarang, especially the Committee of the International Webinar on Innovative Technology Integration on STEM Education, for having me here as the speaker. I'm Warasumarni from Chemistry Education Study Program, Department of Chemistry, Universitas Negeri Semarang, Indonesia. Today, I would like to share my experience on contribution of virtual laboratory on inquiry-based learning with STEM approach to student learning outcomes and critical thinking skill. Changes in the 21st century confront Indonesian education with a number of challenges. There are three types of knowledge that must be mastered to face the challenges of the 21st century. The first is fundamental knowledge. It is the knowledge to know that consists of digital or ICT literacy, core content knowledge, and cross-disciplinary knowledge. The second is meta knowledge, or the knowledge to act. This consists of the four C's: creativity and innovation, critical thinking and problem solving, communication and collaboration. And the third is humanistic knowledge, or the knowledge to value, such as life or job skill, ethical or emotional awareness, and cultural competence. Tony Wagner of Harvard University has interviewed hundreds of CEOs in business, nonprofit, and educational institutions to uncover the survival skills needed for the 21st century. Their answer have identified 7 skills that people need to survive and thrive in the 21st century. The first is skill as agility and adaptability. Students need to feel comfortable with changes and be willing to adapt to changes around them. Teachers are supposed to create a very dynamic environment in the classroom, such as changing teaching strategies, changing classroom settings, changing the way the student learn, or suddenly asking students to change jobs so that students learn to adapt. The second skill is assessing and analyzing information. Students have access to information that was unimaginable in the past. The internet provides all kinds of amazing things that can be their best friend or worst enemy. Assessing information is easy, but assessing good information tends to be more complicated. Students need to be taught how to sift through the millions of available web pages on a topic and find what they need and be able to trust what they find. They need to learn the difference between factual information and opinionated sounding factual. The third is initiative and entrepreneurship. Students should be encouraged to take the initiative and contribute to solving real-world problems. Students can be very creative and interested in having new experiences. Let students organize their ideas and put them into practice. Students should not be afraid to try because they are afraid of failure. This is known as entrepreneurial spirit. The fourth skill is curiosity and imagination. Basically, every student is curious and imaginative. The imagination of the student is wide and wild. The task of educators continues to encourage them to develop this curiosity and imagination and teach them. The fifth skill is collaboration across networks and leading by influence. Working closely and harmoniously with others can be quite a difficult task. To best prepare students in this area, it takes more than the usual teamwork. In completing project assignment in group, students do not just enter into groups and share tasks with each other. Each student must be encouraged to take a different role in their group for each task in the project. Sometimes they can be managers, and another time they can be organizer or graphic designer. The sixth skill is critical thinking and problem solving. The ability to think and act quickly is an indispensable tool for the future. To practice this, teachers need to present some situation in which the student need to find out for themselves where the skills they have developed can be applied to help them solve problems. The seventh skill is effective oral and written communication. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to live in a world that constantly changing and moving at a very fast pace in line with the demands of student skill, the demands of becoming an innovative teacher are increasing. Some skills are required for teacher. First is the teacher as a relationship builder. Second is the teacher is learner. Third, teachers need to be inclusive. Fourth, teachers need to be reflective. Next, teachers are also an innovator. The teachers also need to be leader. Teachers also need to be storyteller. Teachers is a designer. And the last, teachers also could act an artist. Teachers must be able to use proper learning strategies in order to produce good outcomes. There are at least 6 aspects that must be met to create a good learning strategy. First is dialogue response. Learning is conversational, whether personal, local, and direct, or more generally global and digitally based. The data show that dialogue learning condition compared to non-dialogue learning produce a more positive effect on student critical thinking competence, both in terms of generative fluency of reasoning and quality of value orientation. Furthermore, learning needs to involve an abstraction and creativity. During the teaching and learning process, the student needs to play. This is the opposite of the appropriate response to a teacher-centered environment. In play, students are free to experiment, demonstrate ambition, follow curiosity, and take risks to create, design, develop, and connect. Learning also needs a community interaction. Communities, including local, physical communities, and digital specialist communities, nurture relationship and frame content. It is important as well to include the media literacy in the teaching and learning process. Finally, the student need to be encouraged to do a self-learning. Ladies and gentlemen, a chemistry learning cannot be separated from lab work activities. Lab work activities in the laboratory are very crucial because the students are trained to be able to find knowledge through investigation, to be able to relate the theory learned to the facts in the field. Practicum or lab work is part of the teaching and learning process that could provide four knowledge skills at once, namely conceptual knowledge, contextual knowledge, procedural knowledge, and metacognitive knowledge. Lab work activities can help students understand the material taught in class as well as train their thinking skill. And lab work activities play a significant role to generate the basis for higher order scientific thinking skill. Before the COVID-19 outbreak, science and chemistry lab works were carried out in school laboratories. During these 2 years of COVID-19 pandemic, all of academic activities in Indonesia, including lab work activities, need to be carried out from home. As the learning must continue and the student learning outcomes need to be achieved, the learning models and media that can be used optimally during the learning from home are very crucial. On the other hand, the digital technology offers many innovations in the field of learning technology, one of which a virtual laboratory. Students can use the virtual lab as a means to do the lab work activities. One of the virtual lab that can be accessed for free is fed.colorado.edu and the learning host portal belajarkemdikbud.go.id, which provide various virtual science practicum. Virtual lab is a form of laboratory with observation and experimental activities using software run by a computer. All the equipment needed by a laboratory is contained in the software. Simulation in the form of interactive multimedia-based software is operated with a computer and can simulate activities in the laboratory as if the user is in a real laboratory. Virtual lab provides students with tools, materials, and laboratory equipment in computers to subjectively perform experiment anywhere and anytime. Virtual laboratory can be accessed via smartphone, tab, or personal computer. So why need virtual labs? Virtual lab showed enormous potential as a means to develop student skill in the learning process. Virtual lab is an alternative solution in overcoming the limitation of real laboratory facilities and infrastructure. Virtual lab is simulating complicated or dangerous experiment. Virtual lab is a supporting factor for developing experimenting skill activities and increase student learning motivation and critical thinking skill. Why IBL STEM using virtual labs is necessary? Students need a learning model that makes students as active learning subject and are able to come up with their own concept. Can develop critical thinking skill in solving problem through an experiment, although through an online learning, and facilitate students during the learning process. The IBL STEM is an effective learning model for encouraging students to learn through active involvement in discovering their own concept and principle with the teacher as a facilitator to have experience by conducting experiment to discover the principle and improve mastery of concept, learning outcomes, critical thinking skill, and science process skill. Ladies and gentlemen, if we would like to design an inquiry-based learning with STEM approach assisted by virtual lab, we could consider the following steps in order to design a good virtual lab IPL STEM learning. The first is determining the theme for by considering the analysis of the basic competence. After that, we continued with building learning scenarios to warm attitude during practicum. As we finish with the scenarios, we then prepare student worksheet as a guide for students and teachers in practical activities. Teachers should prepare the student worksheet carefully. Instruction and stage of practicum activities in the student worksheet must clearly describe what knowledge and skills will be developed. Don't forget to emphasize on higher order thinking skill in practical activities. If we completed with the student worksheet, we could continue with the virtual laboratorium practicum. Teachers should prepare a virtual lab, for example, using a virtual laboratory that can be accessed for free, namely belajar.kemdikbud.go.id, which provide various virtual science practicum. After each lab work activity, we need to set up a learning management system platform to collect student work. The LMS platform chosen is the easiest and most flexible platform for students. Through the LMS platform, students can upload practicum result documents, practicum videos, and other practicum documentation. Teachers can provide feedback on student work online, either in the form of responses, learning evaluation, or giving structured assignments that are still related to practicum. Here, some example of the virtual lab that we could use to assist the inquiry-based learning with the STEM approach. This virtual lab could be used to assist the chemistry learning for the acid and base topic. This website is available for free, and the student could simulate the pH measurement of various solutions. The virtual lab could help students in understanding the acid-base titration and the determination of the unknown acid and base concentration. Through this virtual lab activity, the student could also learn about the equipment used during the real lab work. The similar use of the virtual labs could be assessed as well for the virtual microscope, biodiversity models, and the measurement of protein content in foodstuff that probably needed for biology and chemistry students. Here is the website for the virtual lab access. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's check in the important findings that we have gained from the study we conducted. The first is the student cognitive learning outcomes. Our study showed that the use of virtual lab helped the student to have a good understanding of concept and learning motivation, as previously reported by Rizkiana and Iksan and Afdal. Moreover, our study showed that the integration of virtual lab and hands-on experiment improve the student performance and learning outcome, as also reported by Iftinan and Atun. The second is the student affective learning outcomes. In general, the students were enthusiastic and working together on doing virtual lab work activities. Some of them were running experiment using the software and take the measurement, while some of them did the record and observation. Our study showed that using virtual lab in the IPL STEM learning could gain on and improve affective learning outcome. After the virtual lab activities, the student would focus more on the real lab work activities in comparison to those without prior virtual lab activities. The student understood more about the procedure of the experiment. The similar observation was obtained from the student psychomotor learning outcomes, as you can see from the data on the screen. Our study saw that the virtual lab activities improve the student laboratory skill. During virtual lab activities, the student could repeat the experiment as many as they want to gain a more comprehensive understanding in doing the real experiment. The virtual lab activities help students to have initial view of how conducting experiment properly and correctly in a real laboratory. This was inspired from the IBL STEM learning scenario that allowed the student to explore new experiment and predict the result without worrying about running out of materials and broken tools. To see the effect of the student of the virtual lab in the IBL STEM learning, we measured the student critical thinking skill over the six indicators, namely identify the issue or position, support source, analysis, contradictory evidence, personal bias or assumption, and describe conclusion. Our studies saw the virtual lab help the student to readily prove the theories being learned without providing chemicals and equipment. Virtual laboratory help the student logic about the real laboratory, and simulation in the virtual lab improve the student understanding and showed good impact on the student thinking skill. From our study on the implementation of virtual lab assisted IBL STEM learning, some key findings will be stated as follows. Virtual laboratories are needed to strengthen understanding of concept in the learning process. Utilization of virtual lab application can be used as a solution to problems in the implementation of practicum using a physical lab, while at the same time giving students the freedom to carry out practicum anytime and anywhere and without teaching guidance. With virtual lab, experiment can be carried out continuously, safely, quickly, and can be repeated. Virtual lab can be used for demonstration prior to actual lab work, and if well designed, can equip students with 21st century skill. Virtual lab can also meet the needs of students, such as giving students the freedom to do or carry out practicum anywhere and anytime without having to be guided by a teacher. The use of virtual lab has weaknesses, namely not being able to practice directly, not practicing hands-on skill, and not being able to introduce hazardous substances, as well as how to treat them, limited types of practicum, and less challenging to students. Thus, virtual lab is not substitute, but a part of a real laboratory that is used to complement and improve existing weaknesses. This is the last part of my presentation, ladies and gentlemen. From what we discussed in this presentation, we could highlight that the use of the virtual lab contribute 57% to student learning outcomes and 54% to student critical thinking skill in IBL STEM learning. It is important to point out that we don't claim about the effectiveness of the virtual lab activities in comparison with that of the real labs. The virtual labs could be an option if the real lab activity is not possible or limited. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks all I could share in this very special occasion. Thank you for your attention. Your questions and comments are all welcome. Thank you and good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. Woro, for your fruitful talk. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for us to have a Q&A session. I will take the question from you that raise hand or write the question on the chat box. I will check in the chat box. I think we have already have some question here. The first question is from Dr. Iwan Junaidi. The question is going to Dr. Chin. Thank you for your willingness to be a speaker. I ask a question. Okay. What is better, teaching math sparingly or integrate with science and technology? I think that's the point.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the questions. I take note on the questions. Hello, Bak Iwan. Thanks. Good to see you here. Thank you for your question. Regarding your question, you see, my response would be, well, I think that the teaching of maths that links with other discipline is more engaging and relevant. Well, because this can better equip our students for future workforce, we should link maths to other disciplines in teaching maths. The problems that we encounter nowadays are complex problems and sophisticated problems. These problems do not exist as distinct subjects or disciplines. Teaching maths with other disciplines enable us to develop students' ability to develop solutions to complex problems, to understand and apply data, and will be important life skills. However, we must be aware of the changes of mathematical meanings when teaching and applying mathematics in various contexts, in particular STEM context, you see. Because when we say teaching STEM context, well, we can do that, you see, but we also need to acknowledge the difficulties in teaching mathematics that links with other contexts. Yep. That's my response to your question.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kin, for your answer. And then we move to next question from Dr. Maturi. It should be going to Dr. Sarifah or Dr. Kin, I think. Could we say that by STEM, we engineerizing and technologizing of science and math learning, my approach and fertilize our creativities? How with another subject, such as social and humanitarian subject? Okay, please, Dr. Sarifah, maybe.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Now, when you talk about critical thinking, analytical thinking, and so on, this is a 21st century skills, right? So this is a platform where we talk about this STEM education, and from studies, it shows that those critical thinking and analytical thinking will help them to improve the innovation and so on. So it doesn't mean that other fields that have been mentioned here does not contribute to those skills. Yeah, for example, like what kind of other social science field, for example, right? It is a matter of how we create the curriculum for that particular curriculum. For example, when we create any other science or non-science field, we have to create in a sense that the way we ask students, the way we create the assessment, so that will help them to improve their creative thinking and so on. So it's not that only STEM that could enhance their creative thinking and so on. Yeah, it depends on the way you craft your courses, the way you craft your activities with students, the way you craft your assessment, that will that will improve and help them to enrich other soft skills, on top of critical thinking skills, innovative skills, analytical skills, and so on. So I think hopefully it would answer a question from one of our participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sarifah. Okay, next question is from Miss Anis Sobiha. The question is going to Dr. Kin. What kind of learning approach that can integrate STEM with the real world application? I think that's the point.
Okay. Because I'm a bit confused with this question. I'll just explain, you see, what I understand from your question. You see, I assume that you are trying to ask me about the approach to STEM education. So this relates to the perspectives of STEM education, you see. So the current trend is we look at STEM education in an integrative way, which means that when we talk about teaching such as like mathematics, understand, we don't teach mathematics as a distinct subject, as a separate subject. We are going to teach mathematics by using the STEM context, and we don't talk about, well, this is a maths problem or what is it. But the issue would be when we are using an integrative approach to STEM, this relates to the integrity of the discipline itself, you see. How are we going to uphold the mathematics within STEM, you see? How are we going to make sure this STEM approach is appropriate to teaching a particular year level of maths, etc. So my point here is teaching STEM is not as easy as picking a questions. It's not as easy as like just choosing a STEM problems, then present to your students. We need to make sure the kind of knowledge, for example, if let's say now I'm going to use a STEM context to teach mathematics, let's say, and we need to make sure what kind of knowledge in particular that relates to maths that students require to solve that particular problem, you see. So that the STEM problem that we pose to our student or the STEM problems that we use in our classroom is appropriate for a particular year level, you see. So this is how I interpret your questions. Well, I welcome you to further elaborate your questions if you think that my response to your question is not precise, is not what you want. So yeah, so you can further elaborate if your questions if you want to get more response from me. Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you, Dr. Kin. For Ms. Sobiha, if you have more clear answer, you can elaborate your question in the chat box. All right. Next is for Dr. Chin.
Okay.
This is the question from Dr. Amin Suyitno.
Yeah.
The application of STEM can reduce how to reduce the risk of siltation of material in mathematics itself. Please, Dr.
Okay. Yep, I will pick that question, you see. So, hi, Pak Amin, long time no see, good to see you here. and good to get a question from you here as well. So I'll try to answer your question, you see. So, okay, you mentioned about the application of STEM can reduce a lot of time in learning maths. Well, I agree up to a certain extent, okay? It depends on your question as well. It depends on how you approach that, okay? How to reduce the risk of siltation of material in mathematics itself? Well, I think the point is it relates to the nature of maths itself. Maths is a kind of language, you see. So when we use maths in different contexts, we cannot run away from this siltation. In fact, I would say, okay, we cannot run away from that because mathematics is structured in a particular way. When you use maths in different contexts, you need to interpret the mathematical symbols in different ways, in different contexts, you see. So what I can say is you cannot run away from that, you see. But what we can do is actually, when there is a change of mathematical meanings for a particular mathematical concept, what we can do is we need to make our students aware of that changes, you see, so that they know actually, well, when I first apply the maths in this context, it must be, this concept must be interpreted in this particular way. And then when we apply the same concept to another context, then we have to interpret in another way. So just like any language, if you learn language, you see, we know that actually for the same word, you can have multiple meanings, you see. So this is similar in mathematics, you see. Mathematics, for example, like in my keynote speech, I did mention that if you talk about multiplication in counting, okay, most of the time you can say that, well, it relates to repeated addition. But when you put multiplication in a measurement context, such as like an engineering problem, you cannot run away from the changes of mathematical meanings. So as an educator, we need to acknowledge these changes, and we need to let the student know that these changes do occur so that they are well prepared for these changes. For example, you see, I give you one pretty straightforward example. Numbers. Let's talk about numbers. Everybody knows numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers, you see. For a mathematician, we look at numbers as numbers, you see. For an engineer, you look at numbers as measurement. For an accountant, you look at numbers as money, you see. So for geographer, okay, people who do geography, you look at numbers as coordinate or latitude or longitude, all these things, you see. So which means that numbers actually as a subject, it can be applied to a variety of contexts. But when you put these numbers into a variety of contexts, this will spark different interpretation. So that's why when we use mathematics in STEM context, we will talk about this as a kind of multi-contextual context. And we put the maths in multi-contextual context, we must acknowledge that there is a change of meaning, there is a change of interpretation. So my recommendation is that in order to help students to overcome, we need to make them aware that there's a change of context and there's a change of interpretation, either inside the STEM fields or outside the STEM fields. Yeah, thank you. That would be my response.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Kim. Very clear explanation. Okay, we move to another question in the chat box. Here we have a question from Dr. Arif Widiatmoko. My name is Arif Widiatmoko. I'm interested about STEM activities in the STEM festival in Malaysia that presented by Dr. Sarifah. Could you explain more the activities of STEM in the festival? Okay. So this is for Dr. Sarifah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lodin. Thank you, Dr. Arif, for that question. So I guess this question referred to ScienTech that this annual event, STEM event that we have conducted at our faculty. So I guess we need to understand STEM definition, like what we have heard from your dean, also from me, and also from Dr. Cheng just now. So I guess it is a harmonious integration of the concept of science, engineering, technology, and maths. Yeah, harmonious combination. Yeah. Now, so based on ScienTech that we have conducted, so the objective is to create an awareness and interest, yeah, that STEM is, because STEM is closely related to our daily life experience, applications. So this is another platform that the student can understand the concept of STEM, yeah, and it can be enhanced through hands-on activities. For example, the examples of activity that I've mentioned earlier, for example, water rocket, solar car, solar boat, paper plane, yeah, design and innovation, school lab, school safety, and so on. So this is where the students have an opportunity for them to use that particular STEM concept to develop or to make their project successful. So this is basically what we have conducted during the Science Tech Festival. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Sarifah, for your answer. Okay, we have another question here. One more question from Wahid Fitri Albar. The question is going for Professor Waro Sumarni. About virtual laboratory, there are some weaknesses, but we can gain some benefit as well from virtual laboratory. The question is whether any recommendation for which particular grades, classes, or courses which are more suitable for using virtual labs. Okay, Professor Waro, please.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the question. I think all of grades could use the virtual lab, including all of science subject, graduate skill. I think all of grades could use the virtual lab. We can start the virtual lab as a good start to teach science. Okay, Dr. Alvin.
Okay, thank you, Professor Waro. So the virtual labs can be delivered for any grades, I think, yeah, any grades or classes.
Okay, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions from the participants? You can raise your hand if you want to ask directly, or please type your question in the chat box. We still have some more time here. All right, we have another question here for Prof. Waro Sumarni. The question is come from Ms. Anis Sobiha. Okay, with virtual lab, students are able to come up with their concept and then they can develop critical thinking skills for problem solving. And then the question is, can you explain more the relationship of IBL STEM learning with online learning? Okay, okay, Prof. Wara, please.
Okay, thank you for Mrs. Anisobika. Okay. I hope the relationship between IBL STEM and virtual lab could be very clear. The virtual lab could be a good start for a real lab. In real lab activities, students could be more focused and conduct the experiment better. Also, they could analyze the data better. They could gain the critical thinking more easily. Okay, Mrs. Anis.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Wara, for your response. Okay. Any more questions, please? That's all. Is there any question in YouTube stream? Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much for all the speakers for the answer. And we are now getting close to the end of our time together. Thank you for our outstanding speakers today and also all the attendants. We really do appreciate your interest in this very important issue. And you may give a big hand of applause emoticon. Thank you. I will give the time back to the Master of Ceremony, Miss Safira.
Thank you, Dr. Alaudin. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to the next agenda, let's have photo session to document the moment. We will take some shots and we will count it 1 to 10. Please get ready and smile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you very much. And one more thing, to those attending the international webinar, please don't forget to fulfill the attending form to get a certificate. The next agenda is appreciating session. For all the keynote speakers, please stay there for a moment because we will symbolically confer an A certificate. The first appreciation certificate is awarded to Associate Professor Dr. Saripah RSA. Is conferred to Dr. Certificate is awarded to Professor Dr. Woro Suman. Thank you once again to all keynote speakers who have delivered insightful and wonderful presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to the end of the international webinar. We believe that opportunity should be made and changes should be pursued. By the completion of this program, we all hope that you all have gained insightful and enlightening experience. We would like to extend our gratitude to all participants for your participation and support of this program. Thank you for spending time with us today. Don't forget to stay safe, stay healthy, and see you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bahasa Inggris.